the core and essence of design of this app is to solve a problem, right? It's about problem solving. And this is what user experience does, right? It's a digital technology tool for solving problems. And contrary to what most people think when they hear design, they think it's just about putting things together to make it look pretty or nice. Well, that's a part of it, but that's not all that there is to it. So user experience, like I said, is basically for problem solving with users in mind. And you can also say it helps to solve user problem by putting the user first and center, right? So all of the digital platforms you have today, they became a team because certain problems needed to be solved. And for example, let's say your WhatsApp, right, is part of like a UX experience, like user experience design. And they are there to solve a problem. I know the experience you get is like a fun experience when you're using WhatsApp. You think, oh, I'm just like chatting people, I'm putting myself out there. But it is beyond that, actually, if you look at it from the lens of a user experience designer. So if you are conflicted as to what problem your WhatsApp is solving, right, let's look back. Let's take it back to the time where we didn't have these things, right? We didn't have WhatsApp or even the, let's say, Instagram or Twitter, where people can communicate in real time, right? You realize that communication in real time was, if you're not in the same location as the other person, it was impossible to an extent. You had to like write letters, you had to send, you had to post letters, go to the post office to post letter, right? And then it was expensive, it took time, like it was not sustainable. But look at this present moment. You can relate with people that are not even in the same environment in real time. And it's fast, it's effective, right? It's cost effective, it's efficient, and less risk as well, and so on. So why I'm explaining this is to help us to like get the understanding and like put things into perspective. If you see on your screen, we say, okay, what is user experience design? UX simply is the process of making technology useful, easy, and enjoyable. It involves designing with people in mind, understanding how people use and interact with products, system, or service. So I said beyond that surface, you guys interact with, beyond the application. We call them products actually, right? There's been a UX thinking process behind it. It's not just about designing. They thought, oh, what do these people need, right? We've seen a problem. Yeah, people can't communicate in real time. What do these people need? What do they need to be able to communicate in real time? Faster, more efficiently, and less expensive, make it affordable. And they thought about WhatsApp, right? Now, why I'm explaining this is to help us understand how it is a problem-solving tool and how most of the application we use today came about due to problem solving, right? People were looking to solve problems, so that's why we have most of these things. Now we understand. So let's look at why UX design matter in agriculture. So we've talked about it as a problem solving tool, right? Let's look at why it matters in agriculture. So we have UX design is a technology that helps with sustainable solution. It's a problem solving tool shaping every sector, and the agricultural sector should not be left out. So one of the things I want us to think about. Am I still audible?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
It's not nice. It is too tight. It's
Hello.
too tight.
WIP. We can hear you.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Yeah. So I was talking about why UX design matter in agriculture. So my explanation earlier is to put things into perspective, because I know you might be thinking, so why design in agriculture, right? Why should we leverage design for innovative solution in agriculture when there are other means? Like we should be thinking about machines or policy and whatnot. But I'm sure that the explanation I gave earlier has helped us to put things into perspective, right? To understand how these things can solve problems more efficiently and faster. So UX design is a technology that helps with sustainable solution. right? It's a problem solving to shaping every sector, and the agricultural sector should not be left out. Because if you look back to 2020 and like look within that period and now, you see that a lot has changed. So I'm talking about 2020 because that was the year we had the pandemic, and digital solutions were not as much as we have it now. We have a lot of digital technology solving problems in different sectors. So look at the fintech, for example, your payment industry, like the financial industry. You see that there's been a rise in this, like an increase in like the birth of so many fintech companies between that moment and now, because they saw that, okay, times are changing, right? And we need to look for sustainable means to live as well as a people, as a sector. And they thought, oh, how can we make payments more easier for people, like accessible for anyone? And they thought about, okay, regardless of the location, regardless of who you are, how can we make this thing better and more accessible to us? So they thought about, oh, why not create an application, right, that can solve this problem, right? We call them products actually because they are products to the people who own these things. So they thought, oh, why not come together and do this and create a problem-solving thing around it. And then they came up with all these applications we have today for your payments, your loan and saving app, and so on. And when you look at the medical space as well, medtech, you see there's been a lot of innovation around using these digital technologies to shape the way people access treatments, they access information about their health, and so on. And even if you look at the edtech, that's your educational technology, right? We have so many learning platforms now, right? Compared to what we have then, because people are looking at the fact that times are changing, like everybody's evolving, so we can't afford to stay the same. We have so many learning platforms now that are even cheaper than when you're learning in person. They're even flexible as well. You can learn at your own pace because you have recorded learning videos on there and so on. But in the agricultural sector, much has not been done in this regard, right? And if we don't start talking about it as youth in agriculture, if we don't start having conversations about it, we will not be able to achieve much, because the agricultural sector is like a backbone of any economy, right? It's important. Just take a look at it. Let's come down to the basics. Let's say you've not eaten today. Let's say yesterday when you were going to sleep, you've not had anything to eat, right? And this morning again, you wake up, you've not had anything to eat. Before coming to this webinar, I'm sure that most of the things I'll be saying will sound crazy to you because you've not had anything to eat. Now, that's just like the basics, like the end of everything. So food is expensive now, right? And honestly, we know that there are other problems surrounding that. But when we begin to look at digital solutions, we'll be able to see problems that can be solved by this. We can turn these issues into opportunities when we look at them clearly. Now, the second point is they can identify potential problems and make processing efficient, profitable, and sustainable, which is true. There are so many problems in agriculture now that machines or policies cannot solve. Even random application can solve, except applications that are built based on UX design, like user experience design. Because you know what? UX does not just solve problems. They solve problems with the user in mind, like I said earlier. They solve problems by asking the right questions, by doing proper research, and making sure that the people that we should be solving for are the people we are solving for, right? So this brings us to look at real problems in agriculture that can be solved by this means. Now, let's look at real problems in agriculture. During my research, I realized that most of the things people complained about were difficulty selling produce or finding buyers. We had lack of information on storage and preservation. We had poor access to financial and insurance too, right? This is just to name a few. I know you have more in your mind though, based on your experience and the things you've seen. So we'll still be talking about that. I would like us to share ideas based on what we've seen, what we've experienced. So let's just look at this. Difficulty selling produce or finding buyers. These are things that digital technologies can solve, right? I mean, look at it. If we have e-commerce sector where you do your buying and shopping, we have a lot of buying and selling apps now where you don't even have to meet with the person you're interacting with in person, right? Because these platforms have been designed to help you trust the process, to help you get your things in time, and like to help you buy or put your stuff out there. So just look at it. If we have that kind of thing, then we can replicate it in agriculture, right? If people in Agric actually understand the world of UX, the world of digital technology. And I know there are limitations to these things, right? But if we don't talk about it, there's no way we get beyond that limitation. I know we're thinking, funding, government policies, investment. Yes. During my research, I realized that people were saying, these things are expensive. There's no funding and whatnot. But the thing is, the older generations, right, they are not tech savvy. And if the youths who are tech savvy, who can take it to them, who can make it better, like the youth in agriculture, are not talking about these things or don't understand how this world of digital technology works, we will not get anywhere, right? That is why we should be having this conversation we are having. And once you understand how these things work, you can pitch it to them. So we're talking about difficulty selling produce or finding buyers. When we want to use UX to solve this problem, we first ask questions, right? We ask, okay, so yes, we know that people have difficulty selling and buying, but what is the problem? Is it logistics? Is it that the customers don't know where to go to find the buyers, or the buyers don't know how to contact the seller? I mean, we just think about, what the possible problems could be, right? And once we understand, what the actual problem is, right, we move on to see, okay, so how can we solve these things? We look at what are the ways these people have been doing these things before this time. And then we leverage that and bring it into like the digital technology space to refine the solutions and make it better. Now, lack of information on storage and preservation as well. This is something we can solve with a digital solution, right? How? So when I was doing my research, I learned about this platform. I think it's an African company. I'm not sure, but it's not a Nigerian thing, where it's more like a Twitter space, like a space that helps you like connect with people who are doing amazing things in the agri sector, top people actually, and you can just like go there, ask questions, see what other people are doing. It's more like an ecosystem actually. See what other people are doing and apply that to your own thing to make it better, right? I think it's a Kenyan company. I'm not sure. They have the mobile applications where this thing take place. So I think as a youth in agriculture, we should be looking at these things and replicating them in our own country as well. Because the cost of staying the same as a sector outweighs the cost of actually looking and embracing digital technology to solve problems, right? So we're still going to be talking about UX problem that people take, because this problem solving is not magic, is process and structure that has been put in place, right? So we'll be looking at that after this point. Now, people talk about poor access to financial and insurance too as well. Based on my understanding, these are things that can be solved if we have maybe applications that allow farmers to input their data and records their information as well, right? I know I'm not an agri person, but now I'm talking about it because I understand UX. Now imagine if an agri person understands how this works, right? The UX world works, and they apply what they know now to it based on their own understanding. It becomes a full-blown idea, right? That can be turned into innovation, right? So let's move into the UX design process, where we talk about how these things work, really, how we can apply it to real life problems and then solve them. Now, the next point says good design doesn't just happen by chance. They follow a process. When we solve problems in user experience design, we don't just solve them, right? We solve them with the right people in mind. by asking the right questions. So this is the path we follow. First, we empathize. We empathize with the user to understand the users of this platform, who we are going to be designing these things for, right? And in understanding them, so in UX, we do research. We start by asking questions, looking for the people who are involved. So let's say we are trying to solve a problem, and we have the problem to be, let's say the problem is the one I mentioned earlier, selling and buying. So we look at, so who are the main people here? These are the customers, and then the people who wants to sell their produce, right? And then when we want to empathize, we look at them. So what's the way of their life, right? Why are they not selling? Why are these buyers not buying? What can we do to make it better, right? Where do they live? What's their literacy level? Have they been doing these things? What do they have access to? What don't they have access to? And so on. So from empathy, you can understand what it means to empathize, right? And before I move, I want to know if I'm communicating. Yeah, can you still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Wait, like, okay, good.
What did you say?
I saw the thumbs up, so I'm like, I was going to say you should also like leave like a comment or something on the chat, or
Okay, I want to be sure we're still together and I'm not alone. So I just talked about empathy to understand the real users, because we need to understand these things. Let's say we have ideas and want to put it out there for innovators or for investors or just build in public. If we can't put out our ideas there clearly, nobody will be willing to understand or will be willing to listen, not to talk of invest in that idea to make things better. All right, that is why we need to understand this process, right? And then after we empathize with who the real users are, because why empathy is important as well is because during my research, I found applications that are meant for the users, but after checking them out, I realized they were not built with the farmers in mind or even with the consumers in mind. Because tell me why something is hard or complicated to understand. Like you say, you built it for the farmer, you built it for the user, but it's not even in the hands of the real users. You're not looking at how to get into the hand of the farmers, right? Enough to be able to solve that problem. So when we empathize with these people, we know that, oh, there's one farmer inside one bush in Kaduna that can't read or write well. How do we make it usable for this person? Because you try to understand them, you try to come down to their level and see when you empathize with them, when you understand users' real struggle. Then after that, you go on to define this problem that you're trying to solve. How do you define problem? You frame the problem properly. Now, I've talked about the user and the buyer issue. So when you're looking at it, you can reframe your problem as, oh, post-harvest food waste due to lack of access to timely buyers. Now, this highlights that, oh, time is an issue, access is an issue when you define these problems. Then you move on to ideate. We brainstorm solutions in design, in UX design. We think, okay, now I understand their problem, right? I understand their real struggles. I've defined the problems. How do I come up with solutions based on these things that I know now? Then we move on to, okay, let me see, maybe if we try this, let's look for ways to solve this, right? Let's brainstorm ideas. Let's brainstorm solutions. And what people do now, even non-tech people go online now and just put things out there and say, oh, I want to do this and that, and I want to build in public. How do you think we can solve this together? This is what I know. This is what I found. And I want everybody to, because now people are building in public. People are not building alone anymore. And if you want to build in public, you have to understand the problem you are solving, right? You have to be able to make it clear to the outside world, even to non-agric people, so that you can solve these problems together. And from there, you might not even be the one to solve the problem. It might be other people that will see these things and say, oh, this idea makes sense. I think this can solve it. And then go ahead to solve it. After all, the end point is to make sure that we are solving this problem. And I remember back in 2012, I know we all know Piggyverse, right? The saving platform. I watched one of the interviews where the CEO was talking, I think the co-founder, and she said something about seeing a tweet. I think I saw the tweet, so I think 2011 or 2012. She spoke about seeing a tweet where people were talking about piggy bank, that there's this colo that was stealing people's money. That when you save in this thing, your money would disappear and stuff. And these people said, they sat down and thought that, okay, what can we do to this thing? And they came up with Piggyverse, like the Piggyverse you guys know now. They came up with it. And look at it now, it's a success. It was someone else that tweeted about it. It was another person that took it up and made a solution for that problem. So that's just an example, an instance of what is possible, what you can do with digital technologies, right? So we move on to, after ideating and people have submitted different ideas, we move on to prototype. So let's say prototype is simply means the process with which you take, like the flow a user takes when dealing with a solution, right? When using the solution you have created. So let's say in design, there's a whole lot around it, but for non-tech people, you can just say it's a flow. Let's say you've designed a solution and then you say, okay, so what's the first thing the farmer or the user sees that is intuitive, that helps them to understand the process? You say, oh, tell them what the platform is about. Oh, you can access buyers and buy things, have options and stuff when you want to buy your things. You can get logistics intervention and so on. Then next, you move to where you see what you want to buy, interact with the sellers, and then move to payments, and then you can track your delivery. Simply, that's like what prototyping does. It helps you to like see the solution you've created clearly. And then once we prototype, we do the necessary things, and then we go on to test these things. What does testing mean? Testing means involving real users to use this product and gain insights. So when we test these things, we bring people who we have designed these things for together, right? We say, okay, come and use these things. There are ways we do this in design. We do moderated, unmoderated. Moderated is when you stay with the user and look at how they use these things to see if they can use it without anybody's help. Because trust me, most of the application we use now, nobody taught you how to use them. You just downloaded them, followed the prompts, and then with time it grew on you and it became something you used more frequently, right? That is the way it works too. With all these applications, they've been tested with real users. That's why it's usable for you. So that is that about UX design process, right? So now I want us to do a mini whiteboard session, because I want everyone to contribute to this. So remember what we used to do when we were much younger, when we talk about, we do this wishful thinking where we say, I'm sure that when I grow up, I'm in my husband's house. By that time, I will no longer be washing with my hand or be sweeping my floor or be mopping my house. I'm sure that we would have machines by then that would do all these things for us. When we were doing that then, to us, they were wishful thinking, right? They were wishful thinking. They didn't seem possible. But because someone took that idea and turned it into something, that is why it has become something useful today. So if we don't share ideas, if we don't dare to dream, to think, to have lofty dreams, these things will not be possible. So what I want us to do quickly is, I know we've had our experiences as youths in agriculture, right? So I want us to take 1 minute and talk about maybe thoughts we've had. Say, maybe very soon I know that we'll have this thing that can solve these problems and what have you, right? So you can type in the chat box if you don't want to, but I would love us to like share ideas, right? We can raise up our hand using is there that icon on the screen? Do we have that icon on the screen?
Yeah.
So we can raise our hands and like share. So when I'd like us to talk and share ideas. It doesn't have to be anything awesome, right? Just like share away. And that idea you think is ordinary might turn into something serious for the other person, might become something that opens up the person's mind. So let's do that quickly. Anyone wants to share? Anyone?
We have 2 people. Esther,
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay, good morning. Good morning, Ma.
Morning.
Good morning, sir. Well, I think I wish there's a way we can retain fruits on plants. I really don't know how to pass that across properly. Just the way we can retain fruit on plants without it getting spoiled or something, or better still, a way we can connect farmers directly to the final consumer, especially for things like ewedu and potatoes. Because one thing that is very common is when you go to the market in the morning, you get things at expensive price. And when you go later in the evening, it gets cheaper just
Mm.
because there's no buyer, and then you just have to like sell it at that price. Sometimes I really wonder, like, do you guys make profit at all? How do you do it? So if there's a way like they can plant and they can predict when it will be harvested, and then they have like access to the final consumer directly, I feel like it's not a bad idea.
Sure. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's possible actually, because I think in India now they have an application, I think with sensors, that can predict these things, right? It predicts the weather for them, it predicts harvest time. I think it can even predict more things to help them with their planting and harvesting. And that one you also said, I said it too, that if we have e-commerce platforms where you can buy and sell, then that should be possible, right? But then I talked about limitations as well, that people would say, oh, most of these farmers far in the bush who have these things can't even use a mobile phone, right? They don't have networks but these are things that can be solved, right? When we start having these conversations, people begin to look in that direction, that, okay, what's the first step? Now we know that if we want to solve this problem, we need to deal with connectivity, reach, and what have you. Then the right set of people begins to look into it. But without these conversations, nobody will look into it. So it is possible. So thank you for sharing, Esther. Thank you. So can we hear the next person?
We
All right. Good morning, everyone.
Good.
I'm Elamin Falano.
Mm.
Yeah, and the main reason I raised my hand is I actually wanted to thank you both for doing this. Because just like you said, sorry, can you hear me?
yeah, we
Yes, I
can.
All right, thank you. Yeah, because just like you said, most of these applications are not made with the farmers in mind. The farmers who are the ones like producing the main thing. In fact,
yeah.
I'm currently schooling at Lautech Ogbomoso, and there have been quite a number of applications that have been made now, especially in
Mm.
this environment. Most of them are not really considering the sellers in mind. Most of them are just considering the user.
Yeah.
It looks more like they are just doing it for the sake of doing it. So
Yeah.
especially, so one thing about these environments that we even figured out, because I attended actually, this name of my Zoom, this WIP, it was a mistake. It's my actual name that was messed with it. So I attended this work immersion program earlier this year, and we came up with some ideas, and we looked at the environment of Ogbomoso. We found out that at least 70% of indigenes here farm. They might have their main occupations and all, but they also farm.
Yeah.
So if we look at it from that angle, we can actually we can actually kind of democratize and maybe optimize farming such that
Sure.
anybody with at least a level of knowledge
Mm-hmm.
can be able to make good produce that will be sustainable for them and
Yeah.
their family. So if we have an application that helps them kind of maybe track their produce. There's kind of maybe a guided access to
Yeah.
a learning portal, something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe something that monitors the weather, the
Mm.
environment, the conditions, and all like that. Then
Yeah.
maybe a marketplace too. I think that will go a long
Yeah. 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 Thank you for sharing. What's your name? I don't want to
way.
say WIP. Can you hear me? Hello?
I think he's muted his mic.
Okay.
Yes, I
Oh,
can
your
hear
network
you.
is
Yeah,
lagging. No, I said
sorry,
I don't
what
want
did
to
you
call you
say?
WIP. I wanted to thank you, then say your name. So I didn't want to call you WIP. Okay. So yeah, I mean you've said it all. Like that's a good one. The thing is, I spoke about limitations, right? And what we should be looking at is collaborating with people who have access to these people, like agents. When we eventually have these things, we can look at agents or all these agro-allied people, farmers, that help them with things on their farms, right? They have like access to them, and they can be the one to like channel it. Maybe when they visit them, help them install the application and then show them how they use it, and maybe involve their children as well, right? And if these things are built with them in mind, they come down to their literacy level and then build something that is sustainable and usable for them. So it is very possible, right? It is very possible. Thank you for sharing. So I want you to take these ideas home and just like ruminate on them, tweet about them, talk about them. And when you find yourself in rooms where you have people who matter, don't be scared to share your ideas, because you see that idea that you think is ordinary might be the last piece for the other person's jigsaw to fall into place. So your idea is valid actually. So let's talk about how you can be a part of this change, right? So we've said so many things. We've talked about how you can apply the UX thinking process to solve problems, the opportunities out there and whatnot. So how can you be a part of those problems, right? Like I said earlier, you have to be curious. Start by observing your environment and share insights, what you think, right? And also you can collaborate with tech innovators and agri-technologists, like agri-professionals, right? On whatever thing you come up with, whatever solution you come up with. And before you know it, you might be the next big thing to happen to agriculture. So this brings us to the end of this session. I hope you've been inspired. So before I go, let me leave you with this last point. Your idea is valid, and every big solution started with someone saying, what if? So do with that what you think, right? So I'll be handing over to the host now. Thank you for having me. Yeah. Juwon, you can
Thank you,
take over.
Ayomide. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. If you could also like make me the host back, I would like to share something too.
Okay.
Um, uh, the reason why we wanted to do this, like I already have said, is to connect like the two spaces. How you can look at problems in the agricultural space and then come up with actual solutions. And when you're thinking of ideas also, and when you're building your solution, you're thinking of the end user as well. It's not just about uh, what you think. Because often, especially we the educated ones, there's this uh I know it all belief that we usually have. You think if I'm thinking this, then it should be the way it should be. It
Yeah.
shouldn't be any other way. And often that's not it's not so true. So also another problem, like I remember was it early this year? Oh, yeah, when we had like the very first thing, was it this year or last year? I'm so bad, but I can't remember. With Code Grain, all we tried to do was, bring in people and then, start with like coding, would also move on to UI, UX, move on to data science and so many of those things. But you discover people, initial stage, they might be a bit energetic, but down the line, they sort of lose interest. But again, we've also had people who've shown like tremendous interest. I want to show you what some of the people we have worked on, and you would see at times it might not be again what you come up with first might not be what you end up with. That's also something you need to realize when it comes to these things. Um, just one moment. Mm, so let me share my screen. You can see my screen, right? Can we see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
So this is what, uh, one of the people at, Code Grade designed, reimagining the Bank of Agriculture, giving more accessibility to people. Because the problem they're trying to solve is this. If you look at the Bank of Agriculture today, it's headquartered in Kaduna. Is it Kaduna or Kano? Kaduna, I believe. And if you were to apply for a loan through the Bank of Agriculture today, at some point, you have to go down to Kaduna, wherever you are in the country. You need to be there. Otherwise, you can't access the loan. That's preposterous. Imagine somebody wants to get a loan of 500,000 and you go to Kaduna first. Or you need a loan of 1 million and you go to Kaduna first. The cost of transportation, the cost of your hotel, the cost of your feeding, remove that from the loan already. It should be simpler. It should be easier. What if they have a platform you can go to and you can like, okay, I can get my uh I can get access to funding through the app. It's not a bad idea. It simplifies things. Although, like I said, with everything, they're starting to say like, okay, this can be better, this can be better, this can be better, or this works or this does not work. But these are things that we need to start giving credence to. There is so we can just like see through what this looks like. Or you would see, although they just added them to is it the NIBS system or with the CBN, where you're able to transfer, where if you go to your bank app, you see the bank. Before, the Bank of Agric was not there. So you needed to go to the bank itself to deposit money. You can't have a Bank of Agric account and then transfer from your first bank or from your OPay. And then if you look at Nigeria too, the biggest bank in Nigeria today is not a Nigerian bank. It's a Chinese bank. Mm. If you look at the daily transaction that OPay carries out, there is no bank. If you combine all your first bank, Zenith Bank, UBA, you have to combine them together to get what OPay does on a daily basis. But technically, OPay is not a bank, but they are solving a problem. They targeted the people who were unbanked. The old people could not go to the bank, physical bank, and open your account and the processes you go through when you try to do things with your bank. You know how stressful it is. But they're like, how can we solve that? How can we give uh, access to financial services to people who would find it difficult or who have been left like, oh, these people can't get banks, they can't open bank accounts. They're illiterate, they're old, they don't have what it takes. So the same thing too, when you have conversations with people about your farmers, the conversation is always, oh, farmers are illiterate. How many farmer has a mobile phone? How many farmers do they have that? But I think what we've seen with the success of a number of these fintech companies is that they are effective. They are able to get to the people who before now would not be the ideal customer, and they've made them customers. You know, there's hardly anybody you meet today. I'd be like, oh, do you have a OP account that would say no? And this time with like them Kuda, Money Point, and the likes, and just solving problems. So I want us to have that same mentality as well. Um, if you might not be the one writing the code, there's a beauty with what is happening now as well with artificial intelligence. Today you can test out your ideas. You might not actually have to build the products, fully, but you can like, build something that is not so perfect and then iterate from there, work on it, build on it. Um, there's this company I also want you to check out. Yeah, friend, beautiful idea. We too at Code Green, we are working on something along these lines. But it's amazing to see that there's somebody already doing that too as well. They might not be everywhere yet, but they're actually trying to solve the problem we have. How many farmers today have farm records? Very few. How do you access what's called financial instruments if you don't have your records? How can you show the bank or the financial institution that you have you're financially healthy? How can you show them that you are with what you intend to produce, with your past experience, with your what you've done in the previously, you'd be able to, repay the loan that they give to you. You have to show your records. You yourself, how do you improve on the daily? How are you able to look at the things you've done and say, okay, this is where we made mistakes. This is the error I made. This is how I correct it. There's a feature they have that I really, really like. Hold on. Which is like this, the calendar. This is what, and again, this thing is so easy to use. It's common sense. Income, how much am I making? I sold livestock, processed farm produce, expenses. What is the expenses I made? What did I buy? You know, is it rent? Is it transport? Loan repayment? Market? How much did I spend on marketing? How much did you spend on NEPA bill? How much did you spend on plumbing, on water? How much did I spend on refund? Everything is captured. It's intuitive. You look at it and you can pick up, okay, this is what I need to do to utilize this app. You go to the calendar. It's a very big issue, especially for, like, let's say livestock, for example. When you're poultry, when did you vaccinate your animals? Is it on the first or Saturday? Is it on, those are informations that are very critical that they inform the next decisions that you make. And you can always refer back to it at any point. So it's not like, oh, when did I give them this thing? No, I can't remember. Also, forward thinking. If I know I gave them La Sota on so day, so I know, 2 weeks, I'm also giving them again. It's like you're able to project, you're able to look back. Those are things these are simple problems that farmers have, that people have, that require solving. And you don't need to design something crazy to come up with that solution. You just need something simple at the end of the day. And at times you might think I need 10 million people or 100 million people using my app for it to validate, or for it to be seen as successful. But at times you don't need that. You might be solving a localized problem, but the people you are solving that problem for, maybe they are just 10,000 or 50,000, but every month they are coming back to your, or on a daily basis, they are using your platform. That is more than enough. Mm. So at times, because we might want to you look at maybe the way our brothers and sisters in Silicon Valley, how they build, or the way people in the fintech space too, where they are more focused on growth. So you're like, oh, we need 1 million users, we need 100,000 users, we need this. But that should not be what drives you. It should be the few people who are using this, how effective is it for them? Is it something, uh, is it actually solving their problems? Because, for example, if you are going to, most of the apps you see out there, they are usually free. If you're going to make people pay for certain things, there are certain apps today that you pay for on your phone. That's because you see the value in paying for it. Maybe it's 5,000 naira monthly. Maybe it's 2,000 naira monthly. For example, ChatGPT. I pay 30,100, I think, or something of that sort for it on a monthly basis. People who are maybe software developers, or they code, they pay for cursor around that price too, or more. You know, if there's no use case for it, if it does not help you, you would be like, why am I paying 30,000 for this thing? Why am I paying 2,000 for this thing? Why am I paying even 500, even 100 naira would be difficult to spend on certain things if it is of no value to you. You would think twice about it. But when you know this thing makes my life easier, this thing is solving a particular problem for me, then people will be willing to pay for it. So if you look at it from the angle of usefulness, and the reason why we can know what is useful is because we are in that space, we are in that sector. If we let people from the outside come in and build solutions for us, it will be problematic. Also, if we let solutions from outside come in, because they lack the local context, if somebody is coming from the US to build for someone in Nigeria, it's weird. Because the problem of farmers in the United States, even if we share similar problems, the local context differs. The thinking is different. The approach would be different. So the advantage we have is we are here, we are with the people, we have access to them. If you step out of your house today, you don't need to go far to speak to a farmer, to have conversations with him. Or if you're a practicing farmer yourself, you know the problems you go through. If your parents are farmers, you can have those conversations with them, like what are the things that are perpetually, causing you issues or giving you, or that these are problems that needs to be solved. Yeah, also you just being observant, looking out there and seeing the things that actually be concentrating on these issues, you pick up problem easily. There are so many issues that we have that needs to be solved. And one of the things I believe in is because I'm building something, if you also want to build that same product, go ahead and build it. The market will vindicate everybody at the end of the day. So it's not about, oh, maybe if you have a better, it might be the same idea. It might just be a little addition to it. It might just be something, and you're just innovating or tweaking it a bit, and it makes all the difference in the world. Today we have Twitter, we have Threads, you have Substack. They are pretty similar, but it's not the same. Mm. You have Snapchat, you have TikTok, you have WhatsApp, you have Telegram. One market does not take away from the other. So I want to also look at it from that angle. Because you have an idea and you see somebody already building, don't let that stop you from building yours. Because you might say, oh, it's similar, it's alike, but probably there's something about yours that it's just a bit different from what that person is. The way you execute might be totally different from the way that person executes. The way you design your product might be totally different from the way that person will design their product. It might give the same effect, but this design itself might give different feelings, might evoke different emotions from the users. So don't let the fact that you see other people build something you've thought about stop you from building yours. Go out there and build. Let the market, like I said, let it determine. Let the market reward whoever it wants to reward, at the end of the day. So yeah, I don't want to take much of our time. We started a bit late, but I hope that this has been not that's been informative, and that we take all that we've had here, and we take into whatever it is we are doing. And the funny part again is design thinking it's not just about the tech space. It's whatever it is you're trying to do. What is that project you're working on? Always have it at the back of your mind. It's not about just what you think, it's about the people who I'm building this solution for, the people I'm trying to solve this problem for. How would they see this? How would they utilize this? What is best for them? That should be your approach in whatever it is you're working on at the end of the day. I see Dolapo. She works with integrated AI precision in the drone space. When all that they are doing, they have to look at it from the local context, right? Because the local farmer does not really necessarily understand what a drone would do. But when they are trying to pass across their message, they need to do it in such a way that the farmer gets it, that the farmer understands and sees the usefulness of that. Otherwise, it would be like, well, fly your drone, it's fine, but then what next? Mm. So, because at times we are enamored by the beauty of what we are trying to do. In your head, you're like, this makes so much sense. But then when it does not translate to the other person, they sit and they're like, okay, it's cool, it's nice, but what's next? What else does it offer? So I want us to go with that thinking, that in everything that we do, we think about the end users. We have
Yes,
them in
ma'am.
mind. Esther, do you want to say something? I guess, I guess not. But yeah, I am just going to end things here. But if anybody has any question, I would also like, I don't know if you know, another thing I would like to say is we live in the best time possible to get into these things. It might be like I don't have the UI UX skills. I don't know how to code. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. I don't know product design, product management, project management. I don't know all those things. But I would like to be active in these areas. The internet is your best friend, you know. There's so many ways you can go about it. Uh, like I said, with AI now, there's so many things you can learn. You know, even if you go and you're charging me to that, I don't know whatever it is anybody uses it for. Go on there and be like, oh, I want to work on this project. I have zero skills, blah, 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 blah. See what it comes up with and try and follow it and see where it gets. You know, go online and take courses and practice. You know, nobody comes down with this knowledge. It might seem scary at the very bit, but then you get to understand better. Like for me, since I've been engrossed with in the world of AI, if you go on my YouTube today, probably the very first 10 videos you would see is AI this, AI that, AI this, AI that. Are like not just the rudimentary, you know. Those are like deep things. I did not study machine learning, nor did I study mathematics or physics or computer engineering or any of those things. But it interested me, piqued my interest, and I'm like, okay, let me go check these things out. Even my Instagram algorithm, that is what it keeps bombarding me with, because that is something I've shown interest in. So utilize the things around you, the tools you have. Don't just waste your data on Instagram and funny TikTok dancing videos or whatever is going on. Actually go and seek out knowledge. And again, collaboration. We are young. You can't do anything alone. Mm. If you think you can, you're deceiving yourself. You need people. You need people. Find other young people who share the same work ethic as you. Might have different skill sets, but you share like a similar work ethic. You share a similar vision, and you can pursue these ideas together. You know, that's the beauty of this. You don't have to know it all. It might be that agriculture that maybe there's a problem in the pepper space or the tomato space or horticulture space in general. And like I have this idea. That might be your area of expertise. Now, how can I find someone who's able to execute? A good place to find co-founders, if you don't know, YC School, Startup School. Join YC Startup School. You even get access to so many resources, and they have a matching platform. It could be somebody to just send a text. Oh, I have this idea. Do you think we should work together on it and see what comes of it? You know, if it's getting serious, then you'd start thinking of the business side of things, maybe how to structure it, setting up vesting schedules and all of those things. But don't let your idea die in you. Don't let it. Don't let it. Don't think it's too silly. Don't think it's too big. Because again, often too, we are scared of the enormity of the idea. If it does not scare you, then what is it? If it's scary, do it. Start, fails, but keep at it. You would learn more from your failures often than from your successes. Because when you succeed, in your mind, it's just, oh, I've succeeded. I'm happy. You're glad. But when you fail, you're able to contemplate the actions you took and the ones you did not take. And okay, next time, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to approach it. So, um, I feel like if you allow me, I'll talk too much. I'm going to stop now. uh, I don't know if we have any other question. If we do, please feel free to ask before we round things off. Anybody? Anybody? No. And also to say this was just the first of this it's not, we don't want to, it's not going to be like a one-off thing. The plan for this is to be like a kind of series. So we'll be having another pretty much soon. But yeah, I look forward to seeing you all build whatever it is you want to build. That's the joy for, that's the point of this all, to inspire each and every one of you to actively go out there and build things and do things in whatever area. And like I mentioned, it does not have to be tech. It does not have to be tech. It could be in other areas. But just take that thinking with you. Thank you very much for joining. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Ayomide, for taking out the time. I know you're a busy person. I
Thank
appreciate you so much.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess I wish us a beautiful weekend. So, bye, everyone.
Bye.